Greetings everyone, my name is Jonathan Bailey and I'm from the website Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com. And first off, sorry for the lack of video yesterday for those of you who missed it. My wife had the day off, therefore I spent it with her. By the way, matinee showings of kids movies during summertime, not a good idea. Not recommended. On another note though, the big news it seems like I've run into today is that OfCom in the United Kingdom has announced its draft proposal for a quote-unquote three strikes regime within the country. Initially speaking, internet service subscribers, I should say, who are caught or accused of downloading illegal material or sharing illegal material online will first be given a series of warnings, and then pending additional legislation may have their internet access cut. There will be a method for tracking how many notices are sent to different subscribers, and after a certain amount, ISPs may take additional action. But I believe, and that's my understanding, that does require additional legislation. It's really amazing to me, though. This has been one of those things where everyone's talking about this like it's huge news and it's a big surprise and everyone's stunned about it. But the truth of the matter is, this has been wholly predictable. I mean, there's no secret here what was going on. This was widely anticipated. Ever since the passing of the Digital Economy Act in 2010, it's been known that this is the way it's going to go. And the only reason it took until now, July 2012, for us to get to this stage was because of a legal challenge by BT and TalkTalk, two of the largest ISPs in the country, who filed suit over it and attempted to get the act overturned, or at least get that portion of it overturned, and they eventually lost, and now the act is moving forward as it was described. And as a result of this, the first notices, according to OfCom, are expected to be sent out in January, or early, I shouldn't say January, sometime early 2014, so a year and a half from now, where previously they were anticipated to start going out sometime in 2011. So it's been postponed 2.5, 3 years most likely. And it shouldn't be surprising anyone that it's coming. And that's one of those weird things. You know, you read the news, everyone's talking about this like it's a huge deal. And I don't really want to talk too much about three strikes regimes in general because I'm kind of two minds on them. I mean, I do understand the need for copyright holders to do something to enforce their work online, and I do think three strikes regimes are better than a lot of the alternatives that are put out there. I mean, think about the BitTorrent file sharing lawsuits. Think about what's going on in Japan with heavy criminalization of downloading content illegally. And you have other site blocking and other approaches that have been tried that I think are probably far, far worse, or at least from a free speech, public advocacy standpoint. But once again, I'm not completely happy with the three strikes regime just because I think the way they're handled and the way they're approached isn't usually the best. But I'll probably do a whole separate video on my very weird thoughts there. And also tons of Copyright 2.0 episodes. Patrick and I have talked about this issue, and you can get a lot of the nuance out of that too. But I mean, this whole story though is a great example of the problem with dealing with copyright news online. Is that a lot of sites, including sites that should frankly know better, they tend to either sensationalize or they tend to forget the context of things, and they forget, you know, what the full story is, and therefore they're covering old ground but treating it as it's new, treating it as this big shock, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening, type thing, when in reality, if you've been paying attention, if you're being smart about it, everything on this front at least has been fairly predictable. And if anything, I think the OfCom proposal is actually fairly tame overall, but it does seem to be calling for additional legislation that may result in harsher punishments against repeated pirates, and it does also seem to be setting up a tracking to enable that, so that it does seem to be laying the groundwork for what we would think of as a more traditional three-strike system. But I still don't find this terribly shocking. If you do, you probably haven't been paying attention. Well, anyways, I'm going to cut this one short. I got a lot to do today. But in the meantime, this is Jonathan Bailey, signing off.